What's going on, guys? In today's video I wanted to go over Amara's updated Nimbus build. And so y'all know the Nimbus class mod is not the greatest class mod, but there are certain ways that you can make it actually really good for bossing and even somewhat mobbing. But before we get into that, I just want to say really quick, thank you guys for 200 subscribers. I seriously can't believe that we have hit that mark. When I started posting videos again, my goal is to reach 100 subs before the end of the year, and I am now currently sitting at 208 as of recording this, which is just crazy to me, and I seriously cannot thank you guys enough. So if you like what you see on the channel, be sure to subscribe because I'll still be posting videos as much as I possibly can. And I think it's safe to say now that I'm on the road to 300. Again, thank you guys for all the support, all the likes, comments, everything you do. It's honestly insane to me. Anyways, getting back into the video. So Amara's Nimbus class mod is, like I said, it's not the greatest thing, but there are some ways you can make it really good. So if you didn't know, the way the Nimbus class song works, it applies a dot every time you do an action skill on somebody, every time you damage an enemy. And that dot, it actually goes about your gun damage. It's not just the little 25 damage. If you can actually make it do around your gun damage. So with that being said, there's certain guns in the game that increase your elemental effect damage by a lot, and so that is going to stack with the Nimbus class mod. The Nimbus class mod also stacks with gun damage buffs, so your anointments, your action skills and everything, on top of the just elemental effect damage. So if you have a gun that does a lot of damage and a lot of elemental effect damage, you can have this little cloud just destroy things. And getting into the gear, I'm using a sellout right here to shoot myself to proc element on me so I could do more elemental damage. Then I have the ion cannon right here, and this is what makes the new build insanely good because the ion cannon does an insane amount of damage. So that is going to correlate to your Nimbus class mod doing an insane amount of damage. Now I have the anoint right here after using Phase Slam. Weapon damage is buffed by 300%, and that also buffs the elemental damage from the Nimbus. But now what the crazy thing is this, as you see, doesn't have an element, but the other ion cannon right here has 11,606 damage per second. So what I'm seeing from testing is that even though this doesn't have the elemental damage, I'm still getting around that much elemental damage, even though it doesn't have it. Plus, it's getting buffed with the Phase Slam anoint, so I just do an absurd amount of damage with one Phase Slam in the Nimbus class mod. Now, to do that amount, you have to be holding the gun. If I switch to something like the sellout, I will literally be tickling the enemy. But if I'm holding the ion cannon, I'm just melting things. Now, the other gun I have right here is the EMP5, just for movement speed. That's literally the only reason I'm using it. Now, another cool thing that works now since other new gears came out is if you have shields or grenades to give you bonus elemental damage on action skill in, it actually works with your action skill. You can throw your action skill down and these will actually proc and you'll be doing bonus elemental damage with the action skill, which is just crazy. So as you see right here, I have a transformer and a stormfront. I'm really just using them for the action skill damage, and you can change these to whatever boss you're fighting, but this one gives you bonus incendiary damage and this one gives you bonus radiation damage. So I'm getting incendiary, radiation, and shock, since shock's gonna be my action skill element, and all those dots apply. It's gonna get buffed by the ion cannon, especially the shock, and you literally just melt everything without having to shoot a single bullet. And then for the class mod, we're obviously going to be using the Nimbus. I could get a better Nimbus. This is kind of a bad one. I do get 3 points in Tempest, but as it says, when you first damage any action skill, it applies a cloud, and the cloud damage is plus 25 a second, and that stacks with your other weapon. Now for the artifact, I'm using Elemental Projector because it is obviously going to buff your elemental damage by 90% for whatever element is on you, and we're going to be using the sellout to proc the elements on us. So if we have shock and fire on us at one time, we're going to do 90% more shock and fire damage, plus we can put these shields on right here and grenades. I can have a bonus shock damage right here and then bonus incendiary damage right here, and you just do an absurd amount of dot damage. You obviously, like I said, are going to change these based on what boss you're fighting. You're not specifically going to always use these two, so just get whatever elements you want and save them. Now going into the skills, I'll start on Fist of Elements. We have 5 points in Anima. This is a skill that you will absolutely need as it buffs your status effect, damage, duration, and you get bonus damage based on what your action skill element is. So like I said before, shocks, we're going to be doing a lot of damage. Next, I'm using Tempest right here. This is another obvious to buff your elemental damage, and since I have 3 points in, it's getting to 48%, and then I'm getting 32% additional shock damage. So shock is getting buffed even more, which is just crazy, and at this point, shock can just kill flesh enemies like it's incendiary. I'm putting 5 points in Infusion right here to proc 2 elements on me when I shoot myself with the Tempest. That's literally the only reason I'm using it. Now going into the Brawl skill tree, I'm putting 5 points of Clarity right here just just to get health regeneration since I will be popping my action skill a lot. And I have 2 points right here in helping hands because I just had these left over, and I get 21% damage reduction every time I pop an action skill. Now the only reason I put it in these is just to get to the corrosive damage, just in case I need to fight an armored boss and I need to put corrosive on. I just want to have access to all 3 of the action skill elements. But going into the next skill tree, this is where everything kind of plays together. 3 points in fast hands and 1 point in do harm. I'm just using these to get down to the bottom later in the skill tree. Now I'm putting 5 points of Violent Tapestry, and it's getting buffed to 7. This is insanely good because we're going to be having a lot of stacks because we've been killing a lot of people, doing a lot of elemental damage. So each of those stacks is going to buff our effect chance by 5.5%, which is an insane amount, and we will pretty much be applying the insane dot damage every single time we pop our Nimbus and just literally melting people without having to shoot bullets. Next I have 5 points in Restless to get 25% cooldown rate, which is really good because you're going to be using your action skill a lot, obviously. 1 point in Ascendant right here to buff Allure. This is for when I'm using mobbing, so I can pull people in closer and get hit by the cloud so they get melted. I have 1 point right here at Alacrity to get down to the bottom. 3 points of Lay Bare, so every time I hit an enemy with my action skill, they're taking 25% more damage, so this is obviously getting buffed. Nimbus is doing more damage now. And then Wrath right here, every time I pop my action skill, I'm getting more gun damage, which is getting buffed with the Ion Cannon, so the Ion Cannon is making the Nimbus do more damage. As you can see, everything is just synergizing real well. I have 3 points right here in Awakening to make all my rush stacks have better effectiveness, so even more elemental effect chance to be 100% sure we apply that insane dot damage to a boss or a tanky enemy. And then finally, I have 1 point in Avatar, so I can pop my action skill twice for cooldown, and I get 10 more bonus stacks, which is once again making our elemental effect chance even more dumb, and we can apply it 24/7. Now that's going to be all for the skill tree. I'm going to have some gameplay in the background, so I generally just talk about the build. So this build is definitely not like an insane build. Like, you don't want to like use this build over something like her Spiritual Driver build or even her Phase Zerker, even though that recently did get nerfed, but it's still very good. This build is kind of just a fun build to use, and don't get me wrong, it absolutely can destroy things. Like, if you want to take this into the takedown and you want to play super passively, you can probably beat this with the takedown with ease. But if you're just going for like boss kills and just farming for legendary gear and you're just kind of like chilling, like, you can just use this build and do literally nothing and the boss just dies. You don't have to shoot at all. Now obviously, if you're using something like the Ion Cannon, which already does an insane amount of damage, you can proc this to just strip shields off really quick with the Nimbus Cloud, and then have Ion Cannon to just start shredding the health down. Or you can just shoot it whenever and you just melt. And between the Ion Cannon and the Nimbus, you just destroy any boss in the game. Now, the way it works though is the Nimbus itself doesn't do a lot of damage. You have to proc that active skill element, which is why I'm investing so much into Violent Tapestry, because you want to proc that element, because if you don't, it just tickles the enemy. But once you do proc it, you will clearly see that it has been procced, and you start seeing some insane damage numbers from dot damage. I've seen like near 200,000 before on a dot tick, which is just absurd. You gotta remember, since the update, we have gear that can add elemental damage. We're now putting 3 dots on an enemy, so those 3 dots are getting buffed, and you just do an absurd amount of damage. And like I said before, be sure to change the elements specifically for what bosses you're fighting. So if it's something like Captain Tron, you're probably going to want shock and maybe radiation, because he's resistant to fire and cryo, so you don't want to use those two. But if you're fighting something like the Agonizer 9000, you're going to want corrosive, especially, and maybe shock, since you're getting shock buffs a lot anyway, so you're doing a lot of damage with shock. You're going to want to switch it around. But this build is insanely fun. It is hilarious to just sit there and press one button and kill everything. This is definitely more towards bossing, but it can be used for mobbing, as you see in the gameplay. You can just phase grasp an enemy and kind of allure with Ascendant will bring everybody in, and ties the bond is kind of transferring damage a little bit, not much, and everybody just starts to die really quickly. Now, it's obviously not as good as like the Ionized Sniper build, where you can just phase like everybody and one-shot everything and everything just dies. But it's definitely a build you can still use if you're just looking to have some fun. I hope you guys can get this build. I'm definitely going to be farming for a better Nimbus class mod, because if I do get a better one, the boss melts are going to be even faster, and that'll just be insanely fun. But as I said before, I just want to thank you guys one more time for 200 subs. It's crazy that I've made it that far. I didn't think I would be getting this much traction, but I seriously can't thank you guys enough. Like, it's absurd to me. I'm definitely on the road 300 right now, so be sure to sub if you're enjoying the content. If you're learning anything new, I would really appreciate it. But anyway, that's going to be all from me, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.